connected people. And I think this is the perfect platform, taken the, the circumstances that we're under. And this is not just something that affects me and you, it's something that affects every single person out there, not just being a South African or a Dubai citizen, it's something that has affected everyone globally. And I think money is a very uncomfortable, topic. So I feel very privileged and honored to be able to part some of my knowledge. Don't give me that much of a bad time. But I'm here to engage with you. So I would really like it to be interactive. As I go through my slides, we can have a conversation around it. What are your fears? What is your anxiety with regards to your business? And how we can assist you. I don't have all the answers, but what I can do is assist you to ease the pain that you are facing at the moment. And, financial worry is a huge thing. And I think we all are facing it in different spheres of our lives, but it's just what we take out of it or how we handle it going forward. And I think having to have someone that has a bit of background in the financial field assists you a lot more easier. Just to give you a little bit of a background, I've been in the industry for 25 years. So, I've seen a lot of ups and downs in the market, from 2001 to, the entire meltdown of the financial sector between 2008 and 2009. And here we are now with coronavirus. COVID-19 is unfortunately going to stay here for a while, and you need to make some important decisions with regards to your finances. And that's what this platform is all about. It's about, coming to terms with your financial situation, but at the same time, what can you do to ease the pain? What tools can I assist you with that would give you a little bit of a broader picture into your financial situation? I assume, how are you gone?
No, I'm still here. I'm just saying goodbye to everyone at the moment.
Okay, all right. I'm going to start with my first slide, if that's okay.
Yes, please continue, Naz. The field is yours. Please go ahead, all yours. And we'll make sure that Naz is able to share her screen, or are you sharing the screen?
I am sharing the screen, and as you can see the slides on your screen, it will be appearing there, right?
Okay, all right. So obviously, how to manage your finances during COVID-19 and beyond. And we get to the next slide, and I think that's the more important one out of just the basics, as in we have been closed during COVID-19. From essential services to your small, medium enterprises, to the currency being affected globally. I don't think people have seen the pound, the dollar at the rate that it is right now. So whether you're a person in a supply and goods environment, whether you're importing or exporting, supply and demand has taken a completely different role. The currency has never ever been this strong or this weak at the same time, because it's a global effect. I mean, oil has never ever been at the price that it has been. I think it was more expensive to buy McDonald's meal than to be able to buy Brent crude at one point. So I think, from an overall global perspective, we as a world we've been told to close up and we need to reset. And unfortunately, the effects of that is our financial situation. I'll just give you a little brief on the South African market, because we do have quite a few listeners that are from South Africa. And a lot of people were concerned about the Moody's downgrade. Unfortunately, that was already pegged in January. So without us even knowing about the COVID-19, we as an economy we had already selected certain things within the environment to get ready for the Moody's downgrade. But unfortunately, it all just came at the same time. And that only takes effect at the end of April. And it's basically government bonds. So it has nothing to do with the market per se, but it has everything to do with your shares within the market. So even though COVID-19 has happened, the Moody's downgrade was already written in a long time ago. Also, they've put in new proposals. We've been put into the market of having different alerts for different stages. So each country globally have been put into lockdown for a specific period of time, and every single person has been given a different level. And I'm speaking more about businesses because that's where the financial problem lies. So each of our businesses, I'm in the financial sector, we're not allowed to work. We're not allowed to open up shop at the moment. So how do we run our businesses? And I think that's what the next couple of slides is going to show you, that as an individual, as a person that's running your own business, or if you're in the corporate field or you're working in a company, how does that is going to affect you in terms of your salary, in terms of your livelihood, and how do you prepare yourself going forward for the long haul? And unfortunately, when I say that, every single country out there has a different time frame, because COVID-19 affects everyone differently. It depends on your health situation, it depends on your country, it depends on your liquidity with regards to your deficit in your country. I mean, America is such a huge place. The USA has had the highest rate. They've actually outdone China. And they also haven't been strict, allowing takeaways still to be open, allowing certain places to be open. That has unfortunately increased the risk factor, and you've seen more and more people with the virus. And we also have to commend places like Dubai, in the UAE. They've had very little cases because they've contained it. They put down lockdown, they've been disinfecting, and at the same time, not everyone is allowed the same luxury, if I could put it that way. And South Africa's been very good as well. We have to comment on our president, because he did what he had to do, and instead of having to worry about jobs, he worried about lives. And I think that's very important in terms of our economy and in terms of our livelihood. I mean, there's no point of having an economy and you don't have human beings to actually be in it. I'll move to the next slide. And I think that's where, if you've got questions, I see a couple of hands raised. I don't know if there's anything that you want to ask me now during this slide, but I think the next one is actually more vital than anything else. What are some of the challenges that are keeping us up at night? And I think job security is the biggest thing. Unemployment is going to reach exorbitant heights. And I think you need to brave yourself for what is to come. And in terms of job security, a lot of companies have now re-looked at what it is to work from home, what is flexi time, and they've actually noticed that their staff count have become a lot more productive, because they're not spending an hour in traffic driving to work and an hour back driving home. They're having less tea breaks and coffee breaks, less smoke breaks. And in that way, productivity within companies have actually increased. And that's been a huge thing, taking into consideration that we are in lockdown. A number of companies have, segregated their staff. Some have been able to set them up with laptops and desktops, but some haven't. Unfortunately, not everybody has access to Wi-Fi. And I think that's also another challenge altogether, because if you want to be able to run your business and you want to be successful, you also have to be online. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we've learned during this last couple of weeks or months, is that if you don't have an online presence with regards to your business, financially, unfortunately, you're going to suffer. And it also depends again on what type of business you have. I mean, I'm in the people's business. I would put my own self out there. And I mean, one of the things that I pride myself on is being in front of my client. And I haven't been able to do it. Done is I've tried to reinvent my business by being online, by having Zoom meetings, by challenging my clients to actually download the app and have that meeting with me. So I've also taken them out of their comfort zone, and to be able to engage with me. We've also helped our clients to download scanners so that they could be able to, sign documentation and still be able to have the business run as usual. It's different kind of usual because it's a new norm. But that's some of the things that people need to adhere to. If you're in different sectors where, according to the stages that lockdown is going to open for you, you need to relook at your business and see, how do I keep myself financially viable? That means, how do I still build some sort of an income stream while sitting in lockdown. I think a lot of people have had, I think America's got 3 million unemployment at the moment. Dubai also faces a huge amount of unemployment because of liquidity. South Africa is the same. And look, we have a younger population, so the unemployment numbers are a lot more higher. The USA was doing very well in January with their numbers. The economy was growing really, really well. And when COVID-19 hit, companies had to close down. And I think the biggest effect in companies is your airline, your travel agencies, your restaurants, anywhere where there's crowding, anywhere where people have to be in a mass. So you've got even your musicians, you've got huge events, you've got people that are wedding planners, weddings have been cancelled. So, everyone that has an amount of people where you've got to be in the market of dealing with people in huge numbers, those businesses are not going to be existing anytime soon. But at the same time, if you are part of those businesses, what mechanisms have you put in place for yourself? What have you done in terms of securing your job, in terms of securing your staff? Because that staff is also your skills, to be able to lose certain skills in the market. And I think that's one of the things that the UAE is very worried about, because they have certain skills. And because of liquidity, if you're not going to be able to address that, and you are now looking at the unemployment numbers, you now lose that skill. And, I think globally, that's another thing that we are facing, is the skills that we are going to lose with the unemployment numbers. And I think also another thing is that our kids, parents unfortunately have now become teachers at home. Homeschooling has taken a completely different role. And I think from a financial space, you also need to look at private schools. Can I afford it? Those funds that I'm paying 50, 60,000 rands, in all different currencies, it's different values. What am I going to do now? My kids have been home already for a month or 2 months. I might have access to online schooling. I might not have access to online schooling. You need to relook at your financial well-being to see, can you afford it? I mean, my kids have lost 2 months of schooling. Can we catch up? Do we take this term and scrap it? Do we start afresh? How long will this be? Because unfortunately, kids come in crowds. You're going to have 20, 30 students in one classroom. One child comes in with a virus. Unfortunately, it ripples in terms of numbers. So parents have to be very, very, skeptical. Do I send my child to school? Even once school open, am I then going to put them out there open to the virus? And from a financial space, can I afford to pay those school fees? Can I afford to actually take that portion of my income that I'm not going to be getting right now? And how am I going to be able to sustain myself? Next is your debt. How much of debt do I have? What type of debt do I have? A lot of people have either been wanting to purchase a home, or just purchased a home, or just got married, or have lost a loved one. And all of a sudden, from having 2 incomes, you now have 1 income. What have you put in place for yourself? There's certain mechanisms that you can do. Different countries hold different rules. In all cases across the globe, you can go to your bank, you can make arrangements. Have you done that? Have you sat down and actually put in a budget in place as to how much is my debt and how much do I owe on a monthly basis compared to the income stream that I'm going to be receiving going forward, at least for the next 4 to 5 months? Where is my financial situation? Am I able to pay my bond? Am I able to pay my vehicle finance? Do I have money to pay my credit card, or have I already maxed my credit card? Do I have an overdraft? And if so, where do I stand with it? And I think those are all challenging questions that one need to ask oneself. And also at the same time, you need to be really, really honest with yourself and your loved ones. You need to have family sit downs to say, we need to talk about the uncomfortable stuff. And money is one of those things. We always say, oh, I will deal with it I'll make a plan, we'll work around it, but that doesn't always work. And unfortunately, people tend to leave it for last minute. And that's when you end up with a bigger problem. So if there's one of those things that I can really, really push is try to make a budget, put in a budget sheet, sit down with your family, sit down with your husband, sit down with your wife, and see where you can cut down, where you can actually make some changes. So for the next 4 to 5 months, you have some sort of liquidity for yourself and for your financial situation. And I think one of the biggest things that scares people is that if I'm not going to be employed, what happens then? I don't have the job security. My boss has said, sorry, he's going to cut 20% of my salary because there isn't anything for me to do. What happens then? If I'm a small enterprise, for example, if I'm in the food business, restaurants have been closed, takeaways have been closed. Okay, in South Africa, they're only going to be lifting it up on the 1st of May, but what liquidity, what sort of capital do you have to be able to start buying fresh produce to be able to sell it? How many staff members will you be able to keep in that business that will not be exposed to the virus so that you can keep your business running? That's also an important question to ask yourself. If you're working from home and you are able to run your business with good Wi-Fi and you've got a printer and you can do all of those kind of things, well and good for you. But at the end of the day, you have to look at your business on a bigger scale in terms of longevity. And where do I actually see my business for the next 3 to 5 years? Is it sustainable? Is it something that I'm going to hold on to that is not going to make financial sense? So at the end of the day, you have to, unfortunately, you got to actually weigh out the options. Is my business going to work for me? Do I take the knock and close down and hold on to whatever capital I have or finances that I have because I can't afford to pay my rent, I can't afford to pay my staff, or do I hold on and put myself into a deeper black hole? So those are some of the difficult questions that one needs to ask oneself. And I think moving on to the next slide will actually give us a little bit of clarity in terms of the challenges that we face and in terms of us being good in the market, but there's not all doom and gloom. So one of the key lines is time in the market or timing the market. And if you do have investments and if you do have money put away for yourself, you know that you have the liquidity, you know that you can manage, stay the course. Please don't panic. One of the biggest things that people do when they have investments is that they panic. The moment that they see the markets change, having the rand go to 19 rand to the dollar or 23 rand to the pound, the UAE it's 5.23 to the rand. I haven't seen that in a very long time. Stay the course. And I think one of the key things is the time horizon. If you've got the time, if you're not closer to your retirement age and you don't need the money, please do not take out your investments. Do not panic in the sense of I'm going to lose all this money or that my money has dropped more than 20, 30%. Unfortunately, the entire market has dropped 20 or 30%. And being in the market is actually going to benefit you more than leaving the market. And one of the key being that is that equities has outperformed over and over. So equities are your share portfolios. So people like MTN, Naspers, those are the guys that have, unfortunately, we use the term volatility. So anything that goes down has to go up. And I think if you have the risk appetite, you've got the age behind you, one of the key things would be is to stay invested. Please do not take out your investment. Do not look at it as I'm at a loss. I have no money. I put in 100,000 rands and now I'm sitting at 80,000 rands. It's going to go worse. It will go worse before it gets better. And I think that's the key in the investment environment. And the key being the timing. So if you hold on to your investments, you would actually see a 30 to 40% increase if you don't need the money. If you're in absolute dire straits, and unfortunately, a lot of us might be in that situation where we have no option but to surrender our policies or take out our investments, then that's one of the things that unfortunately you're going to have to make that call. But if you don't need your funds, if you don't have the need except that you are fearful, then speak to someone that is qualified in that environment. And that's where I do a lot of financial coaching, is help people not to panic, not to do something that they're going to regret later on. And timing the market is the key. We've always seen, even through the worst of times, that the market always recovers. So we normally use it as either a W scenario or a V, so whatever comes right down to the bottom will always move up. And if we look at 2008, 2009, when the entire financial global market had fallen, we had a W. So we went down, we went back up, and we went down again. And by 2010, 2011, we'd actually seen returns that was phenomenal. We didn't think that the market would recover so beautifully. And it's all about the timing. And if you stay invested, you actually have the opportunity of benefiting cheaper units because you bought it when the market was down and you've held on to those units. And now that the market's gone up, you can actually double or triple that investment of yours. On to the next slide. Armal, thank you. We are the opportunities under this new normal, or investing in uncertain times. I'm just going to use South Africa as an example. So our interest rate has been reduced, and most of us that own bonds, vehicle finances, credit cards should be very pleased that they're now saving 2% on that higher purchase of theirs. Now, the big thing is never to waste that money. And I think a lot of people look at that as, I've got extra cash. Now I can, splurge on buying extra things to either eat because we're in lockdown. I don't need to save that money. And that's one of the biggest mistakes you could make. By you using that 2%, you put yourself in a far more riskier position as opposed to saving that 2% or using that 2% to carry on paying another debt. And one of the key ideas that I always give clients is that any debt that you have that have the highest interest rate, that's the debt that you should be paying off first. So if you have something that's sitting with 20% interest, for example, and you have another investment or another debt that's sitting at 10% or 11%, rather put more money towards the debt that has the highest interest rate, because you would be able to save a lot more and pay it off a lot more quicker. So I think the interest rate across the board, globally, if in different countries you've been offered, that opportunity of where the interest rate has been reduced, please definitely use that as an opportunity to save money, to be able to pay off other debts, because you were going to pay, that same amount, that higher amount anyway, irrespective. So it would be a good idea to actually take that portion that you've saved and pay off other stuff. The opportunities that one can also look at is your share prices, from your Brent crude to oil to all the share indexes that have dropped. Stocks are at a massive discount. So, if you're a person that has extra money, and I have had clients that called me and said, listen, I've got some extra cash. I'm still employed, thankfully. And I don't want to waste this money because I see an opportunity in the market. And what shares should I be buying? So, if you have the risk appetite and you've got the time horizon, that's something that you can hold on to for the next 10 years, and you could make some really, really good money out of it. You need to be cautious that you actually speak to an advisor like myself, and that you have a stockbroker. So don't just go doing it on your own and, make mistakes because you're not qualified to be able to just buy any share at any time. So it would be good to actually speak to someone qualified to be able to assist you in that respect. So it's definitely an opportunity if you have the risk appetite for it. If you don't, please don't look at it. You know, it's something that you need to buy and you need to keep away for the next 5 to 6 years. If you want to buy it and you're looking at it as to make a quick sale, then unfortunately you're going to be disappointed, because with the way the markets are, I mean, if you look at Brent crude, for example, they're sitting piling up because we are not using our cars. So, you know, even though it looks like a very, very cheap share to buy, but the market has to be able to pick up based on supply and demand for you to start making money on that investment. Also, you need to have a long-term view. You can't look at any opportunity in the market with a short-term view. So you can't think about it as 18 to 24 months. You've got to look at it longer than that. So I would say 5 to 8 years. 3 years is just for us to get our economy back up again. If this carries on with the virus till the end of the year, which we think it would, and especially with different countries having different seasons. So if your country coming into a more hot season, you're a lot more fortunate because coronavirus doesn't like heat. But if you're going into winter, like us, unfortunately, in South Africa, you've got to be extra careful because, you know, winter brings on more colds and more flus. So markets are very, very tricky with regards to that. So you've got to have a long-term view for your investment. And I think one of the key things during this time, when I talk about how to manage your finances and beyond, the beyond part is restoring confidence. Confidence in the market, confidence in people, confidence in employment. So that's going to take a while. So, you know, if you're looking at investments, you've got to be confident enough to know that you're in there for the long term and you're not doing an investment for a short period of time. There are certain investments that you can do that are short term, and we can discuss that on a one-on-one basis. But at the time that we are facing right now, it would be very immature to tell you, you know, there's a perfect short-term investment that you could make quick money in, and that wouldn't be right. From a South African perspective, SARS has reduced a lot on the private sector in terms of your tax burden. So if you are South Africans that are listening, please do take that up. Please look at it more in depth. If you are unemployed and you've paid UIF, you also qualify. So there's certain rules with it and your employer needs to advise you. So if you've used your leave pay and you've used all of it, and your employers come to you and said to you, listen, I can't keep you any longer, please look at the UIF and look at the structure and see if you fill in. If you're an entrepreneur, self-employed, and you pay yourself a salary, unfortunately, you don't qualify for UIF because you can employ yourself and you can unemploy yourself whenever you want to. So I think the key would be is that you need to look at your financial situation based on merit and look at the opportunities in the market based on what sort of liquidity you have going forward. I want to get to the next slide now. I don't know how much questions
Naseera,
are there.
just we have a question from Atia right now. She asks, what do you see as the timing for it to be corrected? Then she asked, people are talking about a Great Depression again. And the last comment was, if the money invested is with companies that may go out of business, what happens to our fund? The AED to South African rand is so high in difference now. The South African rand worth is very less already. Please advise on the above.
Can I see that question, Arma?
Yes, on your chat window, on the slide that I told you, press the red arrow at the bottom.
Oh, here at the bottom. Okay.
Yeah. Scroll it up.
Chat.
While Naz is checking that, hi everyone, I'm back.
Welcome back, Ms. Hawa.
Thank you, Ermal.
Do you see it now?
Is it right at the bottom?
Yeah,
bottom. Okay, I have a question. How are you going to read out the question for me, please?
I won't have access to that chat because I just joined now. Perhaps the best is, Atia, if you'd like to unmute yourself and ask the question directly, I think that would be the best. Atia, if you can just unmute yourself.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Hi, Atia. Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, we can.
Walaikum. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah khairan for such an informative topic and for giving us this type of panic calm down. As you rightfully said in your introduction, you know, there's a lot of panic and trying not to listen to every news article that comes around. However, when we are working as expats, you know, a large portion of our funds goes home to our families and investment purposes. I particularly am in a situation where I invested monies in February 18th, and you know, by March 12th, we had already heard that, you know, there'll be huge implications with regards to our schooling and housing benefits that would create the need for me to bring those funds back to me and not keep it in a 12-month fixed investment. So I'm at this crossroads now as to what if this company that I've invested in goes down, you know, it's Anglo Wealth Sharia, and what happens to my funds in that position, situation? Because I mean, it's not with an actual bank, like you know, that kind of a thing. Do I take out the money because I asked it to be redeemed within 30 days? Was there a cooling period where would I have been afforded a cooling off period? What is the South African law with regard to that? Do you get a 30-day cooling off period to change your mind? The investment return was 13%. They're charging me 12% redemption fee. So that means I'm taking a 12% loss on my capital. And I don't know whether I should, and I've heard what you said, you know, stick it out. However, my worry is that if they fall, sticking it out would benefit me how? So that's my question.
Okay, so key thing would be is firstly, how long has the company been in existence? Because the company,
I think about 5 years.
Okay, so you must remember, then you're looking at liquidity, because they would then have more clients like yourself, Atia, that would go into panic and worry about, you know, you're a new company, you've only been in existence for 5 years, you're not within the private
sector. It's 10 years, Naz, it's 10 years. I'm just remembering now, it's 10 years.
Okay, so 10 years, so 10 years is quite a good number because it's in double digits, right? So they've obviously built up a good enough liquidity. If you've got 12 months to the investment, and if you had to take it out now as early cancellation, that means you would lose 12% plus whatever the market it's dropped at.
Yes.
The chances are you're going to probably lose 20% of your investment. Right? And yeah, and if the investment is an investment locked in for 12 months only, you know, and you started in February, that means you'd only have access to it next year, February. If you don't need the money, right, then I would say hold on. You know, like I spoke about risk appetite and having a long-term view to it. If you don't need the money, right? But if you're looking at your financial situation, I assume you're in the UAE, right?
Yes.
Right. So if you're looking at your situation in the UAE of whether you're going to be employed and whether you're going to have a job, and that liquidity then is going to be a problem for you, you know, then I would rather take the 20% knock and have my money as opposed to waiting another 4 or 5 months down the line, you know, where this virus could be extremely terrible in the South African market. Because I'm not looking at it from a UAE, that company is in South Africa.
Yes.
Right. And, you know, 3 months down the line, our numbers could rise quite sharply in terms of the virus, and the markets could be volatile. So when the market's volatile, that means there's more room for loss, not gain.
Yes.
But if you have time on your hands, then you should be taking that loss because you'll make more money coming closer to the next year. But, you know, so you've got to weigh out two options. You've got to weigh out your personal need in terms of, do I need this money right now? Can I hold on till February next year? Don't look at the fact that they're going to charge you a penalty fee of 12%. You know, take that out of the equation. Because a lot of people get confused by looking at the penalty and saying, I'm losing money. You know, if you were in any company, whether you were at Discovery, Liberty, or any of the big houses out there, they would still charge you a penalty. It doesn't matter, you know, especially if you were of a specific time frame. So if I was you, I would look at, do I need the money? is it vitally important financially to me? If I didn't have it, what would my situation be? And can I wait till February next year? You know, if it's a 12-month investment, because as the months progress, your penalty should get less and less because you are longer invested in the investment.
Okay, okay.
You know, because remember, because the investment was taken out in Feb, we're sitting in April, it's brand new. So it has nothing to do with the 30-day cooling off period. You've passed the 30-day cooling off period.
No, I requested it within the 30 days. Is there a South African law with regard to finances that there's a 30-day cooling off period with investment? And the 12% early redemption fee was never stated in any case. It was just like a very loose thing, which I found now when I went through a document given to me in 2017 when I originally invested, and then even in that it was paid out earlier than I expected. So anyway, is there a cooling off period?
What I would suggest, yeah. So what I would suggest is perhaps maybe if you can answer that on a generic basis in terms of are there cooling off periods in terms of investments, and then Atiya, I think what we will do is definitely share the details of NAS, and the two of you can also chat on it, you know, in depthly with regards to your specific concern, because obviously I think that is a concern, and I see that we have quite a few people here from the UAE who might be having investments elsewhere as well. So if we can then take that offline as well. So great question. I think that needs to be addressed. We will definitely share the details of NAS with you. There is a few other questions. So just a question is, do we need to unmute anyone or Tasneem? I see there's a question from you, Tasneem Sayed. You're more than welcome to ask the question directly, or I could read it out. So just while she is unmuting, she wants to know, NAS, can you please give us an example of stock shares that we can buy for the long term?
Okay, so BHP Billiton, South Africa, so it's oil, right? That share has dropped quite drastically, and I've already had a good couple of clients purchase that share. It's also Sharia, so you know I'm very much for Sharia shares as well. So that's one of the shares that you can purchase. You can do it via me as well. I could put you into contact as to how we need to do it. So you're looking at, if you look at the market on the whole, you got to look at your mining sector because the mines have been closed. So there's an opportunity there. So all your resources. Gold is only the one that's been really attractive. So because it's a hard currency. So it's something that doesn't lose its value as much, but it has declined. And anything that has your metal and ore that has taken a knock, I wouldn't suggest Sasol because Sasol is in huge financial disarray at the moment. They have their plant in Lake Charles that has really, really taken a knock off them. I mean, I think they're in a deficit of close to $11 billion. So even though their share has taken 80% of the market, they're going to take a very long time to be able to get up to where they need to get. And I wouldn't suggest that particular share. But I would look at your information technology. So if you look at the need for your data, you know, any telecommunication company, any company that is in terms of virtual and your resources. So iron ore, metal, anything in mining, any company that has not been producing, Mondi Paper, for example, they haven't been producing. So anywhere that has been closed for a long period of time, the market share has dropped. And that's where you see opportunity. Remember also, you got to look at your budget. So if you're coming in, you got to look at what can I afford? Like a lovely share would buy is Naspers, but you're going to have to spend close to 3,000 rands a share, where your BHP Billiton, you're looking at about 296 rand a share. So even if you bought 10 shares, you know, that would be a decent start, you know, in terms of having the share market. Plus also I work very closely with a stockbroker. So we sit down and look at what are the opportunities. Remember, the market's changing every single day. Today I can tell you it's BHP, tomorrow it could be Sibanya. So, you know, we need to look at it on merit and your affordability going forward. I hope that answers that, Tasneem.
Okay. Yes.
Good.
Thank you, Hawa, for asking the question. Thanks, Vanessa.
Thanks.
I really appreciate it. It definitely does.
Perfect. Thank you, Tasneem. All right, good. So Yusuf has a few comments. He's also saying that MTN looks good and Glencore also. So those are a few comments from Yusuf. Rueda, Naz, what about offshore investments for a South African during the economic climate?
Excellent opportunity. That's the next step that I was going. Offshore has made a huge impact in terms of South Africans that are invested. So you got to look at it from two sides. So there's a positive and a negative with investing offshore. If you're going to buy into the offshore market right now, you're buying it close to 19 Rand to the dollar. But if you look at it from, if you take the currency and you divide it between, the pound, the euro, and the dollar. So I do a lot of offshore investing with multiple, so across where you don't have to be a South African citizen at all to be able to have an international portfolio. I think the buying opportunity would be the shares. So generally what happens, people do is that they follow the currency. And what I'm saying is that don't follow the currency. Follow the share price, because the shares is what will give you the end result. So as the share market increases, because the share markets are low. So even if you buy it, don't buy it based on currency, because people are worried that, you know what, if I'm paying 19 Rand to the dollar, what is my investment going to be worth? But if I'm buying a share that's really low in the market, that's where I'm going to gain, because as the share market changes and that share grows, right? So for example, you're looking at an Allan Gray equity fund offshore. You're looking at a Old Mutual Global Equity, those global funds. As the market improves, because remember, across the board, all offshore funds, all funds internationally have also taken a knock in the market. So it's a buying opportunity again from an international space, but to hold on. So my biggest key would be is please don't follow the currency. It's an ideal opportunity to actually look into the offshore market purely based on your share prices and what you're going to get the share for to hold on for the long term.
Okay, good. All right, so people, because of time, we're almost closing off time. Naz, I don't know if you want to finish off and close off on your presentation, or would you like to rather just continue with question and answer? What would you like?
Can you just go to the next slide for me? Because that one's the most vital, or second vital. So this is just for more, it is international. So each company, each person that's listening, if you have a bank, if you're owing anything in terms of debt, there is something that's called a premium holiday to assist you, where banks and insurance companies and short-term and medical aid companies have come up with a plan to assist those that cannot afford to pay the full premiums. So if you're not driving your car, you can actually call people like Discovery and any of your short-term insurance company, and they're actually offering you 20 to 25% premium drop just for you not driving your car. So, I think you need to take that up, because that's a 20%, savings that you could make in terms of your financial well-being. Insurance companies and banks are offering what's called a premium holiday. A premium holiday is where they ease you. They don't charge you for the next 3 months any of either your car payments or your bond payments. So it's called a premium holiday. If you've, ticked that you've got credit life or you've got certain cover within it, you can definitely, utilize that in saving money. On your medical aid, if you've got extra savings, that means savings that has come up from previous years where you've never used, and they're sitting on your medical aid savings account. Medical aids have now offered some sort of relief where they will take those premiums. A paper has been passed based on that they will take those premiums that's sitting in there to be able to pay your premiums for your medical aid, because a lot of people can't afford their medical aid premiums these days based on their financial situation. But if you've got extra savings, please speak to your advisor, call me, I'll send my details, to you guys, and we can actually discuss it a little bit more. On a lighter note, if there is any other questions, I thought that was vitally important, to share that knowledge.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm sure with the audience permission, if you'd like to finish off and complete in the next 5 minutes, I'm sure you can conclude any other important slides that you have. And I don't think the audience will mind actually waiting. Or would you rather prefer for me to open up question and answer?
I think just let's go one more slide if you don't mind.
Good, good. All right, so for those of you, while we're moving on to the next slide, Armal, for those of you who would like to ask any questions, perhaps maybe to get it going faster, if you can type out your questions in the actual chat box so that I can then address them with Naz as we go along. Armal, if we can move to the next slide, please.
We already moved.
No,
No, if you can just unshare and share again. Okay, there we go. Stay home and flatten the curve. Is that the one?
Okay,
No,
so
that.
Is that the last one?
Yes, that was the last one, and this one is you were asking.
Okay.
When you
All right. Okay. So it's fine. Leave it on this. How are you can open up the panel actually to ask them to ask me questions, because I think there might be quite a few based on the premium holiday and what the medical aids have to offer, because a lot of people don't know that you have access to that.
All right. So, Armal, if you can please check with Ashraf. Ashraf is asking, he would like to rejoin. I'm not sure. That's Ashraf Jaliawala. If you can just check on that for me. Amika actually wants to know, if I can just move this here, is Naz, what documents would you need to submit if you apply for a premium holiday? And is it applicable if you are a contract worker?
They're looking at everyone. I'm a contract worker, so I'm self-employed, right? So I don't have, I have a contract per se. So if you can prove that you've earned an income, depending again on each bank. So, you know, our big 4 banks have been told by the government to actually ease, you know, the paperwork in terms of where your financial situation is. So what they will look at your bank statements. They would look at how good you have been in terms of your record of paying your debt, and you would need to send them a motivational letter. So each of the companies have an 0800 number and a debt management center where you would need to contact them, and they would then give you a list of what the requirements are. Some of my clients have just done emails, you know, because they don't have access to actual paperwork. So they've been taking emails where you can list all your debt that you have with the specific bank, and they will come up with a solution for you and send you a letter. So they're very specific as to what your need is. If you've got, for example, a credit card loan, you've got your bond and your vehicle finance, they might not let you not pay your credit card, but they will help you with your bond and your vehicle finance. You know, and that would mean they would give you 3 months premium holiday. That means for 3 months, you don't have to pay any of those premiums. And that's a huge saving if you've got a bond for 15 or 20,000 rands. And that those funds can go elsewhere. Also on policies. So if anyone that's listening, if you've got endowment policies, if you've got retirement annuities with premiums, you can also take a premium holiday. Companies are giving on retirement annuities up to 6 months, depending on which company they are with, and endowments and investment policies up to 3 months. So for 3 months, you don't have to pay, and you don't have to pay back that premium. That's very important to notify you as well, because a lot of companies previously, if you went on a premium holiday, you would have to pay back those funds that you didn't pay. They all have re-looked at their wording, and they've said you can take a premium holiday and not pay your premiums. So you can go in from May, June, July on a premium holiday and only start paying your premiums effectively from the 1st of August. So please, if you do have any one of those policies and you know financially you're not going to be able to cope, take those up. When it comes to risk cover, so people that have bonds where they've got life cover, disability, income protection, and those kind of things, unfortunately, the risk is you pay for what you have. So you can reduce your cover. A lot of the companies are willing to reduce your cover with no medicals, right? And so within that 3 months, they can give you a reduced cover on condition that in 3 months' time, you up your cover. If you don't, then they will ask for medical requirements just in case your health has changed in any way. And they would have a specific questionnaire on COVID-19. So that you need to be very aware of. Yeah.
Okay, good. Sounds good. So Amika is actually saying, thank you, Naz. Very insightful, time very well invested indeed. Yusuf has another question. I am waiting for an investment perspective for market to drop further later this year to buy shares. Good choice or not, as economists are predicting a further collapse later post-COVID?
Again, it's time in time or timing the market. You know, you could buy half the shares and hold on to it. And, you know, if you wait another month, and what if the share price actually goes up? Then you've lost out on opportunity. So if that share has already dropped more than 20%, it's still a buying opportunity. I don't think you'll go wrong. But if you're going to wait to time the market, and we are in uncharted waters, you don't know what the company is going to do. All economists out there don't know. They have no predictions. So even though they're predicting that it might drop, if you are interested in buying shares, I would buy 50% now and hold on to them. And if you think the market's going to drop further, then you've got 50% liquidity to buy more afterwards.
Okay, good. All right. Are there any other questions and comments? Samaya, I know your hand has been raised for a while. I'm not sure if it's a question or a comment. You're more than welcome to unmute yourself. Is there anyone else who has a question or comment?
Hi, Naz.
Hi.
Hey, how are you? I have a pastry shop at the filling station, and I'm like freaking out about it because nobody's gonna come and buy donuts and coffee and croissant anymore. Like here, the lockdown is quite strict, so we're gonna release, I think, phases of the lockdown from Monday. But still, supermarkets are gonna be on. We're doing, I think, by alphabet. So on a certain day, you can go and for a certain amount of time. So people are not really buying. They're not going to come and have a coffee anymore. So I don't know what to do with that part of the business and those staff. I literally can't afford to keep all of them. And I don't see any foreseeable sales. Like I can't get there on day one and say, okay, let's switch on all the ovens, which are all electric, by the way, and bake, I don't know, 24 croissants. And then at the end of the day, I throw them away. So I really don't know what to do with that side of the business.
I think, look, I don't know how Mauritius works, but one of the things that I think that you should look at is how you could actually put your business, that particular shop, online. A lot of garages have gone online and have been supplying on supply and demand. So you would then put in a specific time frame. I think this name that's online over here, she's very good with online information. Just get in touch with her. I know you guys have been chatting where you can actually,
Yeah.
so you need to, so, and that's a very good example, Samaya, is that how do you restructure your business so that you can still have an
It's
income
breaking up
coming
a
in,
bit.
all your ovens on, all your staff. So one of the ideas behind it is, okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you can continue now. Yes.
Okay, so one of the things would be is, you know, reinvent your business, because people will still want croissants. They may not want coffee, right? They would still want, you know, cupcakes or whatever else in the terms of your baking that you would do. So what I would suggest you do is actually rethink of packaging, because you would then become part of essential services, not necessarily for petrol, but as part of your bakery. So you can actually put yourself forward as a bakery and still maintain, at least to be able to keep half your staff, but you could do a delivery service. You know, get a little guy on a scooter that would be able to deliver these freshly baked croissants and bread or buns or whatever it is, but that would actually keep your business running. Because we've noticed around us, garages that never even sold meat, for example, are now selling. So instead of wasting that fridge space, they've now kept pre-packed. They've gone in with butcheries and they've had a relationship, and they now keep pre-packed meat. And especially like being halal, for example, where it's closer to the vicinity in that specific area. And now you can go online, you can purchase, and there's a drop-off. And drop-off at your gate, don't come in. And you do an EFT into the person's account, and your business is still running.
Yeah. We tried looking at that online platform for the fuel. It's okay. I've actually done a lot of changes there. So we've moved to self-service. We literally only tried it once as a way of trying to reduce some costs, not opening 24 hours, you know, switching off the DBs at night to save some electricity costs. So we've done a lot of that, but we don't really have the market here. Like no one's really gonna order. We've tried, even for the shop, we've tried to make some bundles and say, okay, you can do dial and collect. So can you phone the site and say, okay, I want, I don't know, a packet of crisps, water, juice, things like that, and we can bundle it for you and do a dial and collect. but we don't really see a market for people ordering pastries because they're really going to the supermarkets just to buy the main groceries. It's a luxury. They can no longer afford to just
What I could have.
So, Sumaya, what I'd like to suggest to you is I've got a video of the innovative session that Tasneem Mohammed actually ran for us in terms of the omission that I spoke about in the beginning of the session. So when that part of your business is omitted, the procedure that you take in terms of the creative thinking and brainstorming, well, she calls it brain writing and not brainstorming, is how do you and your team start brain writing various options. So I'll resend that through to you. Have a look at it. But I think Naz is onto something here, you know, is to think creatively outside the actual box from a perspective. I mean, I'll give you an example. As a training company here, we had, for example, 20 people on our radiation protection training program yesterday. And because they're not in class with us, we can't give them tea and coffee and pastries. So we phoned Starbucks, and Starbucks actually delivers to each of them to deliver a croissant with a cup of coffee during tea time. So at tea time, everybody's sitting on their call in a training session. So your idea would be to perhaps maybe leverage out to companies and organizations that are having meetings online and say, listen, we deliver to your meetings, we deliver to your luncheons. The other day we had a family birthday. One of my nephews turned 50, and we had a family birthday online. And if delivery works, we don't want to deliver food, we want to deliver coffees. No one wants to sit and make a coffee. So those are just ideas that you could look at from that. So I think Naz is really onto something. Think about it, and we can share that video with you. Yusuf is saying, thanks, Naz, appreciate your insight. Got to run to another meeting. I know, ladies and gents, we have gone well over our time, so I'm going to leave an extra 2 minutes. Just for those of you that need to leave, we want to say thank you very much on behalf of Orbrix, on behalf of Training Excellence. Naseera Turkey, thank you for your insight. It has been absolutely phenomenal. I know I missed some of it, but when I came in and I saw the interaction, I knew that you guys have managed and dealt with it exceptionally well. So thank you, team in the background. Armal, Joanne, thank you for your support. Lerato, I know you had to go offline, so thank you as well. I know we lost a few people in between. We just want to thank you for your support and to remind you that tomorrow we have 2 amazing sessions. In fact, our incident command system is, I think, fully booked. I've had to close it off. And then we also have a session which is going to be run by Yoki van Dam. Those of you who want to take your business online, and for those of you who are doing presentations and webinars online and aren't familiar on how to go about doing it, please watch out for those 2 programs. Joanne will be able to send that through to you. Naz, you're more than welcome to share your contact detail because I think a lot of people want to contact you. So if they do, if you can give them maybe in the chat, if you just want to type out your email address, and they can then contact you with regards to that. Also, you can contact our office. Admal is there. He will be able to give you Naz's details. And Naz, just some final comments and final remarks from you in saying goodbye to the team, and any last advice that you can give them before you leave.
I think, firstly, thank you so much, Hawa. Thank you to Almal. Thank you to Lerato, Joanne in the background for making this so smooth. And, you know, the one thing that I do want to say is that I had to reinvent myself. So as part of COVID-19, I've had to look at different things to be able to market my business. And Sumaya, that's the thing that you need to look at. Look at it as a side hustle. You know, that's what I'm calling it these days, is a side hustle. You know, what else can you do to still make money, still have an income stream coming in, but it's just a way of thinking differently. And I think on your finances, you know, find solutions that's not just a quick fix, you know, because you're panicking and your anxiety levels are high. You know, speak to someone like myself that, you know, we've got years of experience and we can calm you down and actually help you to think clearer. And I just want to thank everybody for being so interactive and giving me this opportunity. Hawa, you've been awesome as always. You know, and this platform is something that I'm going to look forward to many more, actually.
Thank you, Naz. For those of you who are still here, please catch Naz again on Saturday. She's on our panel discussion, which is going to be a very intensive panel discussion. We're going to be talking investments. We're going to be talking finance. We're talking property. We're talking landlord versus occupant. in terms of issues and problems with rentals. We've got two international lawyers that are going to be online with us, and we've got two financial providers that are going to be with us. So one is Naz, who is going to present, and we also have Sandy, who I know for many, many years, and she's phenomenal in giving advice from a financial perspective. So between them, you can get a good insight into your finances, your investments, and of course property. So it's all linked in one. Those of you know, I think Ashraf Garda was here. He's going to be the panel moderator who's going to put these ladies and gent. We also have Mr. Ahmed Al-Shameli from an entrepreneurial perspective and an investor's perspective, who's going to talk about his investments in property as well, and what's working for him now and what's not working for him in the future. And of course, Ashraf Garda is going to put these ladies and gent on the hot seat and ask them relevant questions. So if you have any specific questions, please email us. We can make sure that Ashraf asks those. Also, you're more than welcome to open up your mics on Saturday. It's a full 1.5-hour interactive panel discussion that we'll be having. So please join us, 11 a.m. UAE time and 9 a.m. South African time. Pakistan time is, I believe, it's at 12 p.m. So please do join us, and we look forward to having you on the session. Naz, once again, thank you very much. An absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you to everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Rueda is saying Jazakallah khair for the invaluable advice, Naz. Thank you, really informative. Joanne, Ermal, since seeing that you are on and you've got the full chat, can I please ask that you copy this chat, and we will then send this as a post on our Facebook for all that have missed the session to be able to look at all the comments and queries that you've had and how it's been answered. The video should be all available by next week. Ermal is busy editing some of these videos, and by next week you should have links to all of them. So for those of you to watch on our, please join and share our Facebook page of Virtually Live. We want to get more people on there, and Naz, as a coach, please share more information on that site. The listeners are starting to grow, and we would like insight from all our coaches and mentors.
Okay, will do. Thank you so much. Take care and bye.
Thank you, Louise. Yes, absolutely. We will be sending the link for Saturday. So Joanne, please, everybody that attended today's session will definitely receive the links for all our sessions in the next few days, including the panel discussion. Please participate and be as active as you were. Atiya, thank you very much for your questions, and thank you for joining us here from UAE. Those of you who joined all the way from Pakistan, thank you. From South Africa, thank you. And I know we lost a few people in between, because when I came in earlier, we were on 25, and I see we down to 14. So thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum, Khuda Hafiz, and I look forward to having you on more sessions, inshallah.